Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video I'm going to be showing you how to make the Podgekins dress. This is the little A-line dress that comes with the Podgekins pattern. I will link it down below for you. And this little dolly dress is a cute little A-line shape and it has a flutter sleeve. It's fully lined and it has a velcro fastening at the back, so little hands can easily take it on and off. So yeah, let's get started with the video. So the first step with the flutter sleeve is to press this straight edge under 5mm and then press it under again another 5mm. We're then going to top stitch that down, but first I'm going to prep the other one as well, and then we can head over to the machine for the next step. So what we're doing is we're going to top stitch this edge down, and to do that you will need a little bit of paper to start the stitch off. Because it's quite narrow at the top, you'll find that most machines will kind of want to suck it sort of down into the holes. So a little bit of paper or a post-it note will help the feed dogs to drag in the project without pushing it down into your machine. So put your needle in about 1/4 of an inch from the foot. You're going to stitch, back stitch, and then stitch all the way down, and then back stitch again. Once you've done that, you can just tear away the little bit of paper, and there you have your little hem of your flutter sleeve. The next process is gathering, so we need to add gathering stitches to the tops of our flutter sleeve. So you want to bring your bobbin thread out and your top thread and make sure there's like a nice tail, and we're going to change the stitch length to 4 and wrong side facing up. You're going to pop your needle just above where that hem starts, and we're going to sew a gathering stitch about 1/4 of an inch from the edge. You're not back stitching here, you're just sewing. Bring your needle up, don't cut the threads, leave a little bit of room, and that's what that should look like. And we're going to repeat that on the other one. So we have our little flutter sleeves. Pop them to one side for a second, and you're going to take your dress and unfold it and have it right side facing up on your table like this, and we're going to pre-gather the top of the flutter sleeve. So take your bit of thread or your thread tail from your bobbin side, so that was the right side, and we're going to pull it. That's going to gather in your little flutter. So once you have something that resembles this, we're going to pin it right sides together to the armhole of your dress. So if you have any pins that are slightly on the smaller side, this will be helpful for you. And what you're doing is you're lining up that edge of the flutter with the corner edge of your dress armhole. And obviously this is quite a fiddly process, but if you do just 3 pins is usually enough for me, but that's kind of what it needs to look like. And then we're going to baste this in place, and basting just means a kind of stitch to hold it there so that when we sew the next step it doesn't wiggle around and it's kind of secured where you want it to be. So again, taking our bobbin thread, pulling it together, and then pinning it to the armhole. I'm just going to go baste those in place at the machine, about 1/2 centimetre, 1/4 of an inch, and then I'll be back. So this is what that looks like. They're basted on. Just followed it around slowly. The next step is to put your lining right sides together onto your dress, so you're matching up the pieces, and you're going to sew 1 centimetre seam allowance around the neckline and around the armhole. And so I'll take you over to my machine for this one to show you that in detail. So once they're sewn, we want to get some pinking shears. If you don't have pinking shears, then that's fine. What you'll do is you'll trim the seam allowance by 1/2, and then you'll clip into the seam allowance. And what clipping means is you would trim it by 1/2 and then clipping down towards the stitch without cutting through it. However, I'm going to use pinking shears. These are great if you really want to get into doll making or crafting in general. They're really handy to have. And so I'm going to trim around the neckline. Pinking shears give your fabric a little bit more flexibility, and it stops it from fraying as well. And then we're going to repeat the process around the armholes. This will be a little bit harder to cut if you do the flutter sleeve because of the thickness of the layers. So don't worry if it's not too neat, don't worry about it, because you're not going to see this, it's on the inside. So once that's done, this is the fun / tricky process. You want to turn your dress the right way out, but you're going to do that by pushing this side of your dress through that opening that you've created. And so to do that, I just use my fingers. You can roll up the fabric as well, like this, and push it through that little hole. And because you have your flutter sleeve as well, it kind of helps because you can just sort of poke it through and push it out like that. You can also use like a stick, a chopstick, or a pen. And then what I've done is I've designed the pattern to have enough width there that it should come through nice and easy like this. Looks a little bit alien at the moment, but you'll understand the process in a sec. So that's one, and then you have to repeat that on the other side. So that's what that looks like. I'm going to give it a good press around all of the seams, and then we can move on to the next sewing process. So you want to try and press it so that the lining isn't visible from the front, but don't worry if it comes up a little bit. The next step, guys, is we're going to sew our side seams. So what you do is you take your back piece, sorry, you take your front piece and your back, and you line up your outer fabric with your lining fabric, right sides together, and you want to line up that seam. And we're going to stitch 1 centimetre seam allowance down and then down. So we're doing it as one continuous stitch. That's what that should look like this. And then we want to sew up our centre backs, and a slightly different process. You're going to do that by folding your lining right side to your outer right side together, and you will already have a little seam here where your neckline is, and so you're going to sew 1 centimetre seam allowance from the neckline down, and you're going to repeat that on both sides. Now all of those seams can be trimmed using your pinking shears. Before we turn it the right side, I just want to give it a press. So our side seams, we're going to press the seams open on both the front and, well, the outer fabric and the lining fabric. Cool. And then to turn it out the right way, where that corner is at your centre back, you can kind of fold it in on itself and then use something with a pointy end to kind of push that out, and then just roll it in your fingers. Same with the other side. Fold it in, just roll it with your fingers to get that point out. And you should have something that looks like this. So we're going to press our centre back seam on both sides and try and get, if you've got a little mini iron like this one, then fabulous. It definitely helps to have some kind of little craft iron for doll making, but obviously utilise what you have. If you have a normal iron, just use the sort of tip end of it. So yeah, so that's all ironed, looking lovely. Now it's time to hem it. So to hem it, we're going to match up our side seams, and you may find that you are coming up a bit longer on the lining. That does happen sometimes, just where you're pressing it slightly, you know, over slightly on the front so you don't see it, and that's absolutely fine. What I'd recommend is just trimming your lining by a few millimeters all the way around. Like that. So match up your side seams, and you're going to turn up the hem of the dress, encasing the lining within it, and you're going to do that 1/2 centimetre and then another 1/2 centimetre. And you'll find, because of the slightly pointy shapes, you might have to tuck in a little bit here, and then turn it up again, and then we can take it over to the sewing machine to stitch. What you might find, if you have these sort of like corners that have come out, you can tuck that in like this and then fold it up, and what you get is a nicer, neater edge. Once that's sewn, you can give it another really good press all over just to make sure it sits as flat as possible. It's now Velcro time, and so to do the Velcro, what you'll need is some sort of thinner strips. So line up your Velcro to the back of your dress. I'm going to cut a few millimeters shorter, like so. And then we're going to cut down the center of the Velcro. So you want one soft side and one harder side. And so I like to put the harder side on the lining of the dress. So I place it against the edge like this, and then I'm going to go top stitch it down on the sewing machine with a zigzag stitch. Just set your machine to a standard zigzag, double tack at the end, or back stitch at the end, sew down and then back stitch, and repeat the process with your soft side, but you want to have that on the outer fabric, so on the top of your fabric, right side. And that is it, guys. That is the dress finished. So let's pop it on our dolly. Ta-da! You have a super cute little dolly dress that is perfect for your Podgekins, and such a cute little style. You can also add some little yellow trim or some details, whatever you want. And you would do this simply by top stitching this in place. So you just hold it around the edge and stitch over it. So what I might do is just follow along the little hem stitch and stitch that over the top of it like that. So yeah, super cute. I'm going to go do that now, and then we can have a look at the finished dress together. So here you go, you guys. Here's the finished dress. I hope you found it super helpful, seeing it all laid out in a video format for you. And I hope you have the most fun sewing it together, and most importantly, I hope you enjoy playing or sharing your Podgekins with your loved ones. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye!